I can't go another year. No, I can't be up in here complaining. Gotta let them know I'm famous in my heart. Listen here, I'm here for the world to hear. And I'ma make sure they know what my name is. I just wanna end up famous in
I'm so serious, probably why they be so damn curious. They furious. Easy got these ladies on some silly shit. Now what the dilly is, I'm going all out. Hey, I'm the talk of the town while y'all just saw a mouth. Here's a story about my quest to be rich. I'm like Beyonce and Kelly on some Destiny shit. Mr. 6 Mile, look me up, I'm somewhat a dream. Got my city like an addict, guess it's somewhat a fiend. For my team, anything less is uncivilized. Surprise, I'm seeing this world through clear eyes. And haters only made me more inspired to bless. On the clock right now, what the hell is the next? Like that feeling in your chest when you're ready to leave. Like that memory you had, you just couldn't believe. And we always got a little ammunition for y'all, cause we remember when they wouldn't even listen at all.
Listen here, I can't go another year. No, I can't be up in here complaining. Gotta let them know I'm famous in my heart. Listen here, I'm here for the world to hear. And I'ma make sure they know my name is.
Wanna love something with me too. In 97 on Gunston and 6 Measy, the streets made a natural born hustler. Believe me, drop real with it. That was my first EP. Grind harder than granted, but made it look easy. Take it to the top, that was the plan. Now I'm known worldwide from Detroit to Japan.
And everybody, welcome to another episode of the Jackson Report. And this week, we got a special guest on the show joining me today. We just gonna call her Miss B. I'm not gonna release too much information. So how you doing today, Miss B?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty all right.
Good, good.
You know, I brought you on the show because we gotta expose a few things, talk about a few things for the people. Because when we was talking earlier, you said a lot of interesting things. And the one that stood out to me, is the fact that, I mean, when I think of it, like, okay, for the people that's watching, I need to catch y'all up, get y'all abreast of what's going on. Miss B here used to be the office manager at a funeral home. So she was behind the scenes of when your loved one dearly departs this world. So it's interesting to me because when I think about it, and every time I've heard like cremations and all of that, I think burning flesh, like that can't be a pleasant smell. But contrary to my belief, you told me something different earlier. So like for the people that's watching, does a human body actually smell horrible when it's being burned?
Initially, yes. But then very soon thereafter, it does smell exactly like barbecue. Exactly like barbecue.
Wow.
Yes.
That
Yes.
makes salt look really different in the eyes of me now. Like,
Yeah, most people that work in the industry, once they've experienced working in the crematory and around the retort, they either will not eat ribs again or they're just like, whatever. You can either separate it or you can't.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think all them same people that said they wouldn't eat ribs, if you set a plate of them in front of them and turned your back, they probably do it.
They very well might. Ribs are
Unless
delicious.
they got a vivid imagination like me. Like me, as soon as you put the plate of ribs in front of me, I would see Mr. Jenkins going into the crematory, and it would just be like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm good. And then earlier today, I was reading up on some stuff. Now we gonna get back to the funeral stuff, but I was reading up on some stuff, and I always try to keep the people that's watching my show informed. For all you people that's out there, it's been this whole pandemic. You know, a lot of jobs did layoffs, terminations, and staff cuts because the pandemic wasn't bringing no customers in. But now I guess Governor Abbott feels like we're nearing the end of our run with this pandemic. So for all you people that's getting unemployment as of June 26th, if I read this article right,
Yes.
Abbott is doing away with the federal funding, so that extra 300 a week that y'all was getting, gone. Why? Because the percentages of open jobs nearly matches the percentages of unemployed people in the state of Texas. And talking with my producer a little while ago, he brought up an interesting point about that. And to put it in layman's terms for the people that's not really political, that don't really follow it like that. But if the government keeps spoon feeding everybody and giving all of these boosts with all of these stimulus packages and all of that, eventually they're cutting out the way states govern themselves. Because you got people now that don't want to go to work because, I'm going to just chill out, live off my unemployment, because you can pay rent and then have some extras
They
with
make
how
more
it's
money
coming.
doing that than they do at
Yeah.
work.
So, just a heads up, y'all got like another probably month and a half to coast before shit gonna get real. So, take this time now to start thinking of option B, because he finna pull that carpet from under y'all. I don't know how nobody saw this coming. Like, I've never in my lifetime known for the government to give away as much money as they've given away in like this past year and a half. Like, you got little Timmy and Ray becoming entrepreneurs because they done got this loan. You got people that's done. And then there was so many frauds going on with this unemployment. You had people getting 60, 70,000 because they got unemployment in like 80 different names. So, leave it to people to mess up a good damn thing when they give it to you. And I said it, I think, on a previous show. When have you ever known the government officially, and it's probably way surpassed this amount by now, but when I did the first calculations, the government had officially given every American $28,000 of free money just here. So if you didn't take that $28,000, and by now it's got to be double that, at least damn near 60. If you didn't take that and figure out something that's gonna keep bringing you more money, as opposed to being in flex mode, you popping bottles, you having seafood broils and all this stuff. Crawfish was running rapid. If you didn't take a bit of that 60,000, invest in something, and do something, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, because I work every day and I manage to cut a corner or two or three or four, but
Not necessary, yeah.
like for the people that's what would you say to somebody? Like, just say tomorrow, you got somebody call you and they say, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I only got a month left. I don't really know what I'm gonna do. What would your advice to this person be?
Polish up your resume. Go apply for a job.
Yeah, in the article,
Literally.
it says there's nearly 60% more jobs open in Texas today than there was in February 2020, the month before the pandemic hit Texas.
Exactly. Because you got to think, a lot of them jobs became open because once they laid people off, smart people went and got another job and continued on their career path or continued on their occupational path, I should say.
Or picked one that was, not affected by the pandemic.
Exactly, because what I did find out during the pandemic, what opened my eyes, is the service industry got hit the hardest to me. And I started in the service industry when I got to Texas. Like, I was working in a hotel. And when that came to an end, it was like, geez, it could affect the hotel. You mean people don't? But common sense, nobody wanted to come outside. Like, now, it's almost like the coronavirus then became like the new flu. It's like you hear people, I got COVID. It's like, I'll go in the house, drink some tea, take a couple Tylenol. You're going to be all right.
Lay
10,
down for 2
14
weeks.
days. Like, lay down a couple weeks. It's just a reason. But before it was like we never saw this before. But we don't know what it is. They was Kevin Harting us at the beginning of this whole thing. Like we don't know how to combat it because we don't know what it is. And just the common sense, the guy in me, because my wheels are always spinning. I've been thinking like this since the beginning of the pandemic. There's no way on hell, on God's green earth, and nowhere in hell that when they was in the lab messing around trying to create a virus, it wasn't somebody on the other side of the room trying to create the antidote to whatever they was going to create. So all of this warp speed vaccine, I think it was all the overlay for the underplay. It was all in the books because
Part of the design.
who's to say? Like who's to say everybody is getting vaccinated like they saying? Because they telling you don't show your card. But on the same note, show your card. So it's almost like they playing hokey pokey with people. Like show your card. No, don't show your card. It's not good at all. Then for all we know, how many people done whited out their friend's card, put their name and info on it, and showing the card like, hey, I'm vaccinated. So it's like a double-edged sword. It is. But now back to this funeral home thing. Like because I kept saying I didn't want to kind of expose because I know that's the
Not
field.
really an expose per se. It's just, I mean, some people are curious. Some people want to know. Other people are like, I don't want to know nothing about it. Like,
Yeah, you told me something interesting when you was like, sometimes the embalming fluid leaks, and I'm like, wow, like
I mean, the body goes through a lot, and depending on what it went through that led it to die, I mean, especially if you're older, your skin is fragile. It's thin like paper, so it's liable to tear. They can't feel it; they're gone. But in those instances when that does happen, then yes, they can leak. Somebody who had like an autopsy, for instance, they have the large Y incision. We put them in a plastic suit. True enough, so for the most part, it contains it, but in other instances where they may have had like ports or IVs and stuff like that, or even bed sores or something like that on their back, it may leak.
wow.
Yeah.
All I would need to do is walk up to like pay my last respects and be like, why is that
But see, that's part of our job to make
wet
sure
right there?
that that does not happen. So we make sure that, because the last thing you want to do is cause anybody any more trauma or grief while they're going through, a grieving process. So we try to make sure that everything is good. I mean, sometimes there's things that happen that are outside of our control, and if we can be, forthcoming and warn them of, what it is, we will. But
now I do have a
can't
unique
control it.
question because
What's
I've
that?
always wondered this. Is this true or not? Like, you know how on the movies, they'll show somebody in the casket and right at the funeral, at the height of the funeral, the body will just pop and sit up. And now somebody told me this, and I guess I was naive, Nate, at the time. But they told me that sometimes your body can go through that last reflex. And I'm like, after you dead, like you still gonna have a reflex? Like just
Yes and no. It's not as noticeable as people make it seem. No, a body is not going to sit up on the embalming table, because if they did, then somebody did not do their job prior to them arriving there. And then when they did arrive, somebody else definitely didn't do their job either. But occasionally, like when you move them, there's air that's still trapped in the body. And as that air moves, as it goes over like their vocal cords, it'll kind of sound like they're like it and it's not that loud.
See,
It's not
see,
it's
right
not
there
that
and
loud
there.
though, but
I
it's
almost
like
ran off the
hear
set with just that because my mind, like,
it's not that bad. But I mean, and then there's times when, if they're on a table, if it's a larger person or a fluffy someone, as I'll refer to them, sometimes their hands won't stay because there's extra padding in the middle. So their hands may slip.
Slap.
So,
see, all I need to see is a move he just woke up. I'm going. I'd be done kicked him off the table. They'd be like, "Oh, Mr. Jackson, you're fired."
I've had that happen before where, I turned and somebody's hands weren't where they were. And I'm like, Miss or Mr. such and such. Like, what is really going on?
Oh no,
But
see, you better than me because you actually spoke in a calm
they
manner.
don't.
If
but
I
that's
look
the
back
thing.
and I know, I'm like, I just placed his hand on this motherfucker just moved.
They can move. Sometimes they'll. I mean, a lot of funeral directors don't like to, but sometimes they will glue their hands together. And one reason I do not like that is because if it is a fluffy somebody, when they're in rigor mortis and they're still stiff, they'll lay there and it'll look like their hands are levitating off of
Their
their
body.
their stomach because it's not like in a natural.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily like the hands glued in most instances. Sometimes they're just not able to
Not
fit well.
being in that situation.
Hmm.
What is the experience you could tell the people? Because everybody always, I mean, growing up, you done thought about it like, yeah, let's run through the cemetery at night. Like, if you really brave, you'll do this and do that. And then it always be like, but what if something moved? What if a hand? What's the scariest experience you could say you had working in that field?
Okay, the scariest instance I've had because I've always been partial to like spirits and stuff like that. Whatever, but and like for me, every person that was brought in, or most people that were brought in, you can kind of feel, a sense of their spirit there. Well, there was one gentleman who died a particularly violent death. And when we were getting him ready, we sprayed him with his cologne. His estranged wife was like, no, she didn't want it back. She's like, bury it with him. She didn't want to smell it again after that point. And I was like, okay, whatever. So we left it in the casket with him, went to the other side of the funeral home to put some ashes into some urns. And then all of a sudden, it just gets like really cold in there. And then the director that I was working with, she's probably been in the industry longer than I've been alive. So she's experienced some odd things as well. And then it was just weird because, like I said, we sprayed the cologne on him in the chapel on the other side of the funeral home. But when it got cold, we started smelling that cologne. So she stops and then she starts doing the sign of the cross. She grabs her rosary bead. She's like, go to the light, sir, go to the light.
Oh,
But
Lord.
what was weird is that was one that I felt like followed me home. And the reason I say
shit.
that is because that same night I went to sleep, had a dream about this same gentleman. Of course, never met this man, a day in his living life. But in the dream, he was just like telling me something in Spanish and like getting mad and upset. And I'm like, I don't understand you. I don't understand you. So it was just that
What a
was
time not to be bilingual, huh?
yeah, literally. So I'm like, if I can understand what's going on, hey, I'll go pass the message. I'm not tripping. But that was one of the weirder instances that I have aside from the other one that I had told you about. But
Wait, which one was that? Because I forgot.
the Good Samaritan. Because
Oh.
I don't know if I got to this part of it, but where he had passed on the highway, being the Good Samaritan that he was, when I was going to Houston and passing up that like the exact mile marker where he passed, it was weird because at his service they were playing "Regulate" by Warren G, and I was like, man, that's my shit. I hadn't heard that song in a minute. So when I heard it come on the radio, I had Sirius XM at the time. I was like, man, it made me think back to his service. And then as I'm listening to the song, I see a truck from the trucking company that he worked for. And then right as soon as I passed that truck, it was right at the exact mile marker where this man died. And I like instantly got chills and goosebumps. But it wasn't, it was kind of like, is it a sign? Is it a warning? Is it, saying thank you for taking care of me and taking care of my family?
I would take that one.
That's how I chose to take
I was
it.
gonna say I would take that one because anything else, look, listen. I watched The Conjuring in broad daylight and
I've never seen it.
couldn't go to sleep. And it was in broad daylight. I was finna take a nap. But in my mind, every time I would close my eyes, you feel the little wind and something was reaching for me. So I had to keep my eyes open to see what the hell was reaching for me. Like my imagination is too vivid for that line of work. Like I could not.
Yeah, it's because in the funeral home, there's like you'll swear you'll see something out of the corner of your eye, especially
See.
like by mirrors and
Mhm.
stuff.
See right there.
But there's like a lot of like the location that I worked at, there were a lot of spirits just roaming through the building, and it's just weird. I mean, in one of the chapels, it's like you'll be sitting in there and then it'll be quiet, and then you'll swear like you'll hear somebody on the other side of the building, like literally just weeping, and of course there's nobody there, but it's weird. And even like new people when they would start, they'll
See,
be
me and
like,
Chuck, you see our faces? You see me and Chuck, you see me and Chuck faces?
I saw DeWitt's face go.
new people will
Shade.
start and they'll come in and they'll be like, is it weird that I thought I heard somebody crying by the chapel? It's like, oh, that's weeping lady. She, we give them nicknames. One of them, I call her Abuela Ghost because she just, she felt more protective than, just somebody who was just there for ill purposes or just not at rest. But for the most part, the thing is with spirits, if you are sensitive enough to see them, they cannot hurt you. You will hurt yourself
Exactly.
trying to get
I-
away
I-
from them.
No, I
but
know that. I
they
mean,
can't
because
do anything to you.
newsflash, and it may come as a shocker, but I feel you. And I've sat many a night, spoke with my grandma, both of them, spoke with my mom, spoke with a sister who everybody technically I should have never saw, but I know what my sister looks like. And it's crazy because I think at times where they feel I need them, they present themselves.
That's
to me.
exactly when they will reveal themselves.
And
to
they
you,
do,
when
and
you
it's
need them
like
the most.
it took a long time for it to actually be to where it's like they standing right there.
Mhm.
Because at first
You weren't open to it.
it'd be like, what's that saying stuff to me? Like,
Mhm.
okay, am I dreaming?
Yeah.
Am I half woke? Is the witch? You know that old saying, the witch riding your back where you just can't move?
Mhm.
And I would experience that. And one time I was like, what? Why is they peeking? I'm like, what is that peeking? So I got scared. I ain't gonna lie. And here's the thing, like with us, when you younger and you in the room, I don't know why all of us as little kids thought this, not realizing now that I'm older, we'd have been dead to the mud. But why is it something like whenever something scared you as a little kid, you figured the safest thing to do was to put the cover over your head and it was gonna make everything go away. Like now that I'm older,
Sense of security.
now that I'm older, I realized some could have snatched me under the bottom. all I would have needed was for like roll over. You know how you roll over sometime and the sheet may catch your little toe. All I would have needed is something like that, and I'd have been outside. See you laughing. See this.
So I
It's
got
like
a question. How do you feel about those shows like Spirit Hunters? Those kind of shows.
Some of them I think are just full of caca, to be perfectly honest. Others you can tell when it's something that's genuine because most people that do have that gift won't use it for commercial purposes. They'll if they do use it, they'll use it more for to help with something more so than like, okay, let me get paid off of it because they're
Yeah.
real sensitive because they consider that their gift. So I mean they're entertaining. They're fun to watch, but I don't put
What
too
about
much
the
weight
tarot?
in it.
What about the people that do tarot cards?
What about them?
Like, how do you feel about them?
Same the same with some of them. Like, okay, there's spiritual groups that I'm in on Facebook, for instance, and I don't particularly trust anyone who will just randomly inbox or reach out to me and say, "Hey, let me do a spiritual reading for you and let me read your cards." It's like I don't know you. I don't know your energy. You could be by you allowing your energy to be tapped in by this person, you don't know what you inviting in. You don't know what their intentions are or, what the case may be. So I'm cautious.
And see, and now, I got you on here, and I think everybody in this room could vouch. I I did a show maybe a couple weeks back, and like I said, and I'll say it again on the air, because when I say this, if it don't go right, y'all, I could really, really be in trouble. Like, once the camera's cut off, I could be in a whole lot of trouble. But I was talking about, see, here's my thing. Like, with you, I saw your setup. We spoke on it. So I know this is something that you were into. The new trend with everybody going from, oh, God is good, won't he do it, to Ashe, and I got a crystal for this, I got a crystal for that. How do you feel about that, being that you somebody who really are into that and practice that?
You can tell somebody who is doing something just for bandwagon purposes versus somebody who is truly into it. Because if they have not read a single book or done any research other than, you know, cute little memes that they've seen on Facebook or something somebody posted or something, it's not serious. That's just what's trendy for you right now. As soon as the next hot thing comes along, they're going to be rolling with that.
Yeah,
So,
because like my personal thing is, once everybody seen Nipsey talking about use sage for his household, everybody
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I gotta sage him from around me. I got to do this. I got to do this.
Everybody
I
was
seen
saging everything.
people who just in 2019 was, the Lord is good. If God is good, ain't he? Won't he do it? They was doing all of that. Now all of a sudden it's Ashe and the ancestors, and it's like, I don't knock nobody's religion, but the first person that came at me like that, like, oh, I'm gonna pray that the ancestors come to you. I was like, look, my ancestors that I know prayed to God. So I'm not gonna pray to my ancestors knowing they gonna pray to God. But if you somebody that understand it, like I said, even when I did the show on it, and I said, I'm not knocking it. What I'm knocking is the bandwagoners and the trend people who just 2 weeks ago was all talking about Easter Sunday in the church, and all of a sudden I'm finna go to my altar and clean it off. And then I've seen your altar. They altars didn't look like you. They altars look like this table, like they was playing marbles or something like that.
Yeah, no,
And
no.
you ask them about the crystals, and it's just like, well, this does this. And I've seen, the only reason I even spoke on it is because I know a few people that showed me a crystal and said it was one thing. And then a few other people showed me that same crystal and said it was something else. So I was like, wait a minute, do it morph? Like when when you be talking about the retrogrades and the moon and something, do it flip? And when they be talking about I'm charging my crystals, my goofy ass, I thought,
did you think it had
I was
to be
like, so wait a minute. I was like, so what? The crystals come like in a thing where you
charger?
plug it in and charge them up, like they
put
really
it on a QI
yeah, like
no.
when you charge, when you say you charging your crystals, what?
That is putting them out under the full moon.
Does it make you turn into like werewolves if you playing with it? No. And trust me, babe, Miss B, I'm not messing with your religion or nothing like that. I'm talking about the people that don't know no better and be like, I'm charging my crystals, and it's like, it's only 3/4 of a moon. How you charging them? So what?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. You can tell somebody who is in it for, because it's like they researched and they're like, hey, you know what? And I really hate to use the word because it's been so overused, but they become quote unquote woke. You can tell a true spiritual awakening versus somebody who is doing something so they can sound cool to the next person, or just like I said, just for them to post something, go viral on Facebook or what have you. They're not looking at the true things behind it. But the thing is, it's like playing with some of these things, you end up opening portals
of
that
stuff that you don't know nothing about.
Exactly. And then when they get on your ass, you're like, okay, this is you done bit off more than you can chew. But the thing is, it's like everything is based on intentions. And if your intentions are not clear and your intentions are not pure, nothing that you try to manifest is going to come to fruition.
So basically, I could step into the crystal world because all of my intentions be pure, and regardless of what I do.
In a sense, yes.
Like I used to, dare I say, and Lord knows, I hope I'm not opening the door for nothing. But I used to feel like when I hear people be like, "Oh yeah, she gonna put a root." Like my grandma, she was from Louisiana. She used to be like, "Girl, boy, that girl gonna put a root on you." And I used to be like, "What is a root? Like, what the hell is a root?" She ain't finna put no.
We had that conversation.
She not finna put no
it's
spell on me. Like love spells and all of that crazy stuff.
Like I said,
But when you told me they really work,
they
I'm like,
do,
okay.
and that's the thing. It's like, and I tell people all the time, because sometimes you have to, when people pray or meditate or ask for whatever it is that they're wanting, they forget that sometimes you need to be, more often than not, rather, you need to be specific. Because if I sit and say, okay, man, I need some more money, trying to get this taken care of, trying to save up and do this. And instead of, an unexpected check coming my way, then, I get a call from my boss saying, hey, I got 20 hours of overtime. You want to work it this week? And, you sitting there looking like, well, good and damn well, that's not what I meant. But the thing is, you asked for more money. You were given an opportunity to do so. That's why, like a long time ago, I stopped asking for patience. Because the reason being is because patience wasn't something that was given to me. What was given to me was situations that tested my patience and made me have to exercise that. So ever since then, it's like, if I'm going to pray for something, I'm going to be very specific. A friend of mine was talking about, she was, praying for a husband. I said, you better write out that list before you send that up, because you can miss one vital thing.
I was very specific. When I said I want more money, I said, look, when I took it to the Lord, I said, Lord, I need more money. I wanted enlarged crisp bills. I needed to pull up to the apartment in a Brinks truck. I need the security guard to be on the passenger side and one in the back. I need the one in the back to have an AR-15, the one on the passenger side to have an F&N, and the driver to have a 9mm and be a marksman. How much more specific could that be? The Brinks truck never pulled up. Wasn't large crisp bills.
That's like for my birthday once, I wished for like 1 million cookies or some stupid shit.
That is the good for the week. Chuck wanted 1 million cookies.
That is the cutest thing I've heard in a long time.
And
how old were you?
It was his 21st birthday. No, I'm just playing.
How old were you when you wanted 1 million cookies?
Probably embarrassingly old, like 13 or 14.
Hey, look. Nowadays, if you have a 13-year-old and all they want is 1 million cookies, give it to them.
Honestly, yeah.
Listen.
Give it to them.
I don't knock nobody for getting off to a late start with everything, because apparently, according to my uncles, I didn't learn how to walk until I was 18. So I don't know. I wasn't autistic or none of that stuff. I don't know if I just walked like a drunk for the first 18 years of my life. I don't know how I made it through school if I didn't know how to walk. But according to my uncle, I didn't know how to walk functionally until I was 18. Maybe he meant it metaphorically. Like,
I'm feeling like he did.
I'm hoping he did. Because if he meant it literally, then I
have to go back and
it's
look
a
at
lot
some
about
video
my
footage.
past I know nothing about.
You have some questions.
Yeah, I got a couple questions to how I got to and from school.
Oh man, yeah, I'd be interested.
But no,
in
seriously,
the answer to that.
it's another interesting topic that I saw, and I want to know your feeling about it, because I don't know if it affects where you at, because you down the road a bit, but with the homeless ban, they passed Prop B, so the ban been put back into place to ban the homeless people with tents. But then they double behind that, and now they looking at 45 potential areas to choose from that the city owns, where they're going to allow them to pitch their tents. So to me, in a way, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know everybody can fall on hard times, and this pandemic caused a lot of it for a lot of people. But it's almost like if you're going to pass that law, you pass the law. Oh, but read the fine print. It's almost like the contract where you like, I signed the greatest deal ever. And it's like, but did you read the fine print? Because in all honesty, my feeling is this. The certain areas of the city where they want to develop and they want to pull people to, they're going to push them out of them areas.
Oh, of course.
But a lot of the areas where the lower income families live and all that,
They don't care.
they're going to send them there
Yeah,
to drive the people out, and then some rich people
and
going
then
to
they're
come
gonna
in
gentrify it,
and
yes.
buy all of that up, and now the price is going to shoot up.
Gentrification.
But see, so it's all like, you think it's like all just a big plan?
I do. There's a method to their madness. They're not going to do anything that is not ultimately going to benefit them. They do not act in the interest of the people ever.
Now, is the
ever.
tent situation bad in San Antonio?
In certain areas, yes, especially downtown.
Really?
Yes.
So,
It
like,
is
near Remember the Alamo. It's horrible.
Yes, it is terrible. And like I actually used to work at the main library downtown. So there's of course a lot of homeless shelters and such down there. And then but now like just driving past there, it looks like Tent City out here. And I was just like, it's gotten bad. It's gotten really bad.
But see, my thought was like, they gonna push them into the areas of homeowners. Like the city own like think about it. Nobody's safe. You could live up in Westlake and you not safe because the city owns stuff over there.
Yeah, there's a spot, number 30 on the list, Commons Ford Park. It's actually the only thing that I actually recognize that I can, put a image to when I read the address. But that's a park that's in a neighborhood called Cuernavaca, which is in Westlake.
Yikes.
And
Wow.
I can't imagine there being
man.
homeless people there.
Can you imagine you open your garage, spot shining your Bentley, you go to take it for that Sunday drive and you bend the corner in this Tent City? Oh, I could.
The Karens and the Sharons will be up in arms.
I could just see, look, I could see it now.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the real banner happened. Because you're not finna send them out there with Westlake.
No.
You got these people bringing my property value down of my $2.5 million home. You got life, man. Like, no, honestly, I see, the gracious thing is, we not gonna say that. Chuck is from Westlake. So Chuck,
so you can rip Westlake apart if you want.
no,
That's what you're
I'm
gonna do.
saying, how would you feel? Like, honestly, you come out your nice home, you mow your lawn, and then you look down on the corner and you see Rollo down there.
Well, in fact, right next to my mom's house in Westlake, there's a green belt, and it's like a public little spot. It's really popular during the summer. A lot of people go there, and I think last year they actually started charging people to come in because all these random people are coming in from all over town and trashing the place and causing a bunch of traffic and blocking the street. And now they have like a cop chilling there and then some city worker dude taking payment. And if you don't live there, you have to pay him cash. But if you do live there, you have to prove that you live in that neighborhood to get in there.
Oh, wow.
So it's like kind of a similar situation.
Yeah.
Not really, but
Yeah, I could see that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I could see that because Westlake, if they don't want you there, you're not going to be there. So that Commons 4, I think they might as well etch that off the list because them people will get together and be like, what? And if Adler, I honestly feel like if Adler likes being Adler, then that would be a no-go because them people had the capital to be like, oh, we're just going to back such and such. We'll back Matthew McConaughey. I mean, for real. Like,
They put their money where their mouth is.
they definitely do. Like, I've taken many of people home
Oh, yeah.
in Westlake, and they're great tippers in Westlake. They are great tippers. Like, great tippers. Some of my most lucrative tips I've got
Oh, yeah.
in Westlake and, like, Hill Country. Other than the lady I took to Houston. Pretty much Houston. It was Katy, Texas. It was right there at Houston. I couldn't believe somebody was going that far. From downtown Austin though, at 3 o'clock in the morning.
You brought someone to Katy?
Yeah.
Wow.
And a lift ride. And it was crazy because when you got somebody in the car with you, it make the trip not seem long. Once you drop them off,
And it's a
and the
different
reality
story.
of it all is I got to
I got to
drive
go
all the
back.
way back to
Yeah.
Austin.
I drove someone from San Antonio to Killeen with Uber.
Really?
Yeah.
Now imagine one night I picked a guy up way up north. And he was like, "Oh, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for taking this ride." And I'm like,
Why are you so grateful?
"Why are you so grateful? You just getting in the car." Until I hit pickup and it was like hour 25 minutes. Like, where is you going? Because a lot of times it'll come up, and when it say San Antonio, I'm thinking of West Campus because it's San Antonio right off Guadalupe. Nah, it said San Antonio. When I seen
Texas.
the comma, I was like, "You going to San Antonio, Texas, brother?" He was like, "Oh, yes, sir." Okay. And it happened to be at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Back of my car was hanging and dangling because I had got rear-ended by some drunk driving dude, and I was just doing Lyft because everything was operable in the back of my car. Unless you hit that one good bump, and then everything would come loose. So I'm trying to drive, take a casual. We going through the construction near New Braunfels and all of that. I'm like,
I got stuck
man.
earlier.
I'm like, man, all I need is for San Antonio police to get behind me. Like, how are you Lyft driving with an inoperable car? But needless to say, we made it. I got the man to his boyfriend, and they embraced and was grateful to see each other, and
Aw.
they tipped me like $110 for that
Hey.
ride. So it made it worth it.
He needed to get to where he went.
It made it worth the scariness.
Yeah.
But far as this band go, I'm not like I hate to sound like the just like the mean person about it. But the thing of it is we pay too much. I think rent is too expensive in Austin for me to pay damn near $1,000
And
for some
see
shelter
that.
to be over my head, and then I come out and walk to the corner, and it's like, you live in the same neighborhood I do, and all you did was put up a tent. Man,
And
listen.
then, like I told you, you see some of the tents that they have. Those some
Hey,
of them tents are nice.
Yeah. I saw a 3-bedroom, looked like 3-bedroom. It was 2 porta potties. I said,
Only
"Oh, so you
thing
got a
missing was a
3-bedroom,
fireplace.
2-bathroom in the middle, in the middle of 35."
Have a little zipper compartments.
Yeah, some of these people be living better than we do. Like, a lot of them do. Now, my whole thing is, every week, I have a portion of my show. The Am I With It portion of my show. And it'd be something that could have happened. It could have been something crazy. It could have been something serious. It could have been something that we just seen, happen out the blue.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this week for the Am I With It portion of my show, for the people watching, I'm glad it's like hundreds of y'all probably watching because I need witnesses for this.
Danny's watching.
What's up, Danny? Let's say hi to Danny.
Hey, Danny.
And Mo Cone, Mokoun.
Oh, what's up to Will? What's up, homie? But the Am I With It section. Now, this part of the show, I'm doing this strictly for the men. And fellas, y'all better love me for this one because I'm probably I'm gonna bite the bullet for y'all on this one. For all my fellas out there, the Am I With It section of my show, with or without, when you go shopping to somewhere like, let's just for shits and giggles, say IKEA.
Yeah,
How about IKEA?
Let's say IKEA.
Do you go with the lady or without the lady? What do you think, Chuck?
I like shopping at IKEA, so I would go.
Would you go with her or without her on your own?
Probably with, because I'm not very good at shopping in general.
Really? So
Yeah.
you
That's
take the
awesome.
lady?
Yeah.
Chuck is awesome.
You know what, Chuck? This
That's
is why
the homie.
Chuck.
That's the
Everybody
homie.
loves Chuck. Everybody, Chuck
good
is the
guy.
homie. Everybody love Chuck.
Good guy.
Me, I'd rather leave the lady. Listen,
Why, did something happen to you at IKEA?
yeah, a lot happened at IKEA. 30-minute trip turned into an hour and a half. But I say without, because I think men, we pinpoint exactly what we want, go in, get it. Don't care what it costs. This is what we want.
And half the
we
time, don't care what he look like.
I mean, the general color of it all. We go get it and we leave. So am I with shopping with your girl or not? Hell no, I'm not with it. Because 9 times out of 10, you go in for one thing and you leave out with 30 things that you didn't even know you needed.
That's why you go in the store. See what you need.
But you didn't know you needed.
Exactly. You go in the store and the store tells you what you need.
The
Just
girl
like when I go on
tells you
Amazon,
what you
Amazon
need.
tells me what I need.
Danny said he'll just send the lady with his money.
See, you know what, Danny? That's a smart method.
Mm-hmm.
But how much money do you send her with? $10, $20, maybe? Like,
Just enough to buy what you need,
Man,
maybe?
listen.
$20 if you want to.
Next time, I'ma send the lady. Wait, what's the going amount now? What, $40? Send her with $40, and that's a fair amount.
Yeah, you can do that. Let me know how that works.
Well, it
out for
depends
you.
on IKEA. Not that much is $40. Right?
Exactly.
So
you smoky mama, make it enough.
make it enough. That's
No.
what I'm talking about. Like anything extra, because 9 times out of 10, I'm cheap. So what I'm gonna get is I'm gonna bargain shop before I even go. Like I'm gonna look at their little website and see what's going on with it, or I'm gonna have the missus look at their website and see what's going on with it and inform me, and then I'll be like, okay, and we make an executive decision, and then we go and execute the executive decision that we made.
Okay.
So for future reference, fellas, go to IKEA by yourself. That's what I say. Like, am I with going to IKEA with your girl? Hell no, because you're not gonna end up leaving out of there until you eat meatballs at the food court.
Those meatballs are good.
You gotta see like the half of the store that you don't even know exists. You know what I mean? Like the part of the store that we be like, oh, that must just be the back where the employees go. Nah.
But let me ask you a question. In that section of the store, did you find anything that you needed? I think you did.
I can't recall.
I recall that you did.
I can't
think
recall.
you did. I think you did.
I can't recall.
Okay.
Danny says $100 for IKEA.
$100 for IKEA? What's she
It
going to
depends
buy?
on-
A horse, Danny? Like, I mean,
It depends on what you're getting. It really depends on what you're getting.
I went in IKEA to spend $40. I think that's what my coffee table was, and I ended up spending $180 after all of the essentials was pointed out. That do you got this? Do you got that? Do you got this? You know what? Come to think of it, no, I don't. I hadn't even thought of that. I'm a man. My living room could have been my captain chair and the television. I'd have been great. Now all of a sudden the house is wired for sound and stuff coming on when you walk in.
You got a Live, Laugh, Love poster now?
Exactly. I got the
It's coming.
This house is blessed. Over the door, all kind of crazy stuff. Rose petals leading to the living room. I'm like, I didn't know I needed all this stuff. Oh, well, you do. You do, and you need this. You
I don't
need
think
that.
it's that bad.
You need this. Pretty soon there's gonna be a dog running around that mud. Like, when did he get here? Like,
Probably
you
2 of them.
see, you never know. Why 2 of them?
I don't know. Just a well-rounded number. It's just this is how they have
If
company.
they be little chihuahuas running around my house, we know something. I've been kidnapped. I've been taken hostage.
Probably willingly.
I won't go nowhere willingly.
Okay.
As IKEA showed us, I'm a bitch the whole time. I think I fussed from the time we got in the car to the time we walked through IKEA to the time we pulled back up to the crib.
Days later.
I was fussing about IKEA.
days later.
Why? Because all I wanted to see was coffee tables. That's it. I ended up leaving with coffee tables, lamps, silverware, forks, the little shit you stick on the wall in the kitchen that your parents had when you was little. The big spoon and the big fork that nobody could ever use. All kind of stuff. All I wanted was lights in the house. Nah, I got shit changing colors, Alexa opening and closing blinds, cooking and shit. Like, this is what happens when newfound people come into the circle. No, I'm just messing, y'all. Look. I always got to give y'all a jewel before I leave and get off the air. So what we going to give them today? What kind of jewel we going to give them today?
I'm going to leave that all on you. You just dropping all these jewels.
I think I'm dropping bombs, y'all. Like, I really think I'm giving my last will and testament in front of my fans. Episode 33 will be the end of season 1 because we might have to take a small break for episode 34.
When he died?
Huh?
Wasn't Jesus 33 when he died?
Oh, Lord.
It's just random that just popped into me.
Yeah, 33 and a half. So I got a couple more weeks. Maybe. You went. I got a bunch of witnesses. Like, people see this all over the place. Like, they really see this all over the place. And in case y'all didn't figure out, I guess I can introduce this lady here to the world. This Miss B. This the footsteps that's been running around my house hooking stuff up. Got pretty soon. I'm not even gonna know what my own house look like by the time she's done. I go to the store to get one thing and end up with a bunch of other stuff.
And you love every bit of it.
Jury's still out, but if it works, it works. But the jewel I'm gonna leave you with, fellas, listen. If you gonna get in trouble, get all the way in trouble. Don't half-ass do it. Jump right in, jump both feet in, and just make your pallet on the couch. Like, it works like that. Like, but no, seriously, on a serious note, because I do be having fun sometimes on my show. But on a serious note, the jewel I'm gonna leave you with is this. Because I hear so many people talking about it, so many people speaking on it, so many people saying that, oh, I'm thinking about doing this, and I'm thinking about doing that, and I'm thinking about doing this, and I'm thinking about doing that. Put a plan together in your mind. Be diligent about that plan. And stop being your own setback. A lot of people be their own setback because people think they self in and out of situations. And whether people believe it or not, and I don't know who this is going to, but I feel it in my spirit. Somebody somewhere need to hear this because I don't know who it's going to or not, but it's so easy to speak yourself into a situation because what you put into the atmosphere, the universe hears. So the universe will start shifting you in that direction. But if you speak yourself right out that direction, now the universe like, which way he want to go? You can't confuse the universe or you'll end up confusing yourself. And that lines up with the believers, the crystals. It lines up with everybody, whether you say Ashe, Amen, or Hamdulillah. Whether you say any of that, whatever you align yourself up with and you believe in it, it's a reason why your parents say, if you believe it, you can achieve it. Because if you watch The Secret, this video that I watched, they had 4 Olympic runners sit there and meditate, and they told them to visualize the race. And they had them hooked up to like the EKG machines and all of that stuff. The same muscles that fired off, if they was physically running, fired off with just them thinking about it. So what was that proving to the world? Where the mind goes, the body will follow. So if you keep positive visions, you keep speaking life into a situation, you keep speaking yourself into prosperity, that's where you'll end up at. But the problem is, people will say something, and then in their mind, I can't do that. I ain't got the opportunities. Where I'm going to do that at? Now you done just spoke the power right off your life. So the jewel I'm going to leave you with is this. Speak about it, then be about it, and watch you end up where you spoke about. Sound confusing, but it made all the sense in the world to me. And also, before we leave the show, I'll tell you fellas this. It's cheaper to keep her. Because if she leave, chances are you're going to get in trouble. Because if you piss her off enough, she's going to bust a car window, slash a tire, put some candy in your tank. She's going to do something that's going to cost you some money. Or she might just take the worst thing. And a lot of us fellas don't like to admit the shit. But we be emotional as hell sometimes. But it just come out different. Like, I'm sorry, fuck her. I'll crack her motherfucking head. But that be our emotions coming out. That be our emotions coming out.
So tender, so emotional.
See, that's how y'all be.
Okay.
No, y'all don't do nothing to just get quiet and go in the room, like cut up clothes and put lipstick all over the wall or something like that.
I already told you how I operate.
How you operate?
I don't do none of that.
Just turn and walk right away.
That's it. The worst thing I can do.
See, I grew up in a house full of women, so I learned that method. Like my grandma used to be like, kill somebody breathing. Best thing you could do is just look at them, don't say nothing, turn, leave,
Walk
and
away.
never say nothing again.
Yep, my cutoff game is strong. I got references.
You know what? I would let you end my show today, but then that's giving you too much damn power. So, this has been a very interesting episode
It has been
of the
fun.
Jackson Report.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, y'all. Be looking forward to seeing me next week, God willing, because I can just about imagine what the conversation is going to be like in the car ride on the way home. But this week was fun.
It was.
I guess you could say I had my sweetie on the show. The old ball and chain. She finally made it, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Really in trouble after that one. Appreciate y'all for watching me. Pray for me, y'all.
Let me know when we cut, please.
It's been another great episode of the Jackson Report. Like I said, keep me in y'all prayers. Good night, y'all.
Life's a game, but I figured it out. Sitting on the steps at Granny House. This world is strange, but I picture my route. Sitting on the steps at Granny House. Life's a game, but I figured it out. Sitting on the steps at Granny House. This world is strange, but I picture my route. Sitting on the steps at Granny House. Grew up on the block with all the pimps and the crooks. Nerd with it, kept my pen in the book. Oh, I'ma be off the hook. They saw me write it, but I wouldn't let them look. I'm thinking one day I'ma read from this book. Watch, I'll be leaving them shook. Let's take a look and journey deep.